Okay, getting back to our slides, this is Cpace content, school improvement leadership, that's domain number 3, and we are in the change process model. Fullen's educational change. Fullen, 1991, proposed that there are 4 broad phases in the change process. Number 1, initiation. Number 2, implementation. Number 3, continuation. And number 4, outcome. Change process model initiation. According to Fullen, factors that affect the initiation phase include existence and quality of innovations, access to innovations, advocacy from central administration, teacher advocacy, external change agents. Change process model implementation. Fullen's 3 major factors that impact implementation are characteristics of change, the need of change, clarity about goals and needs, complexity, the extent of change required to those responsible for implementation, quality and practicality of the program. Local factors include the school district or local education agency, the community, the principal, the teacher. External factors include government and other agencies. Change process model continuation. Continuation is a decision about institutionalization of an innovation based on the reaction to the change, which may be negative or positive. Continuation depends on whether or not the change gets embedded, built into the structure through policy, budget, and timetable. The change has generated a critical mass of administrators or teachers who are skilled in and committed to it. The change has established procedures for continuing assistance. Change process model outcome. According to Fullen, attention to the following perspectives on the change process may support the achievement of a positive or successful change outcome. Number 1, active initiation and participation. Pressure, support, and negotiation. Number 3, changes in skills, thinking, and committed actions. And number 4, overriding the problem of ownership. Barriers to change, reasons for resistance. According to education researcher Michael Fullen, people resist change when the purpose of the change has not been made clear. The participants in the change are not involved in planning. The appeal for change is based on personal reasons, the habit patterns of the work group are ignored, or there is poor communication about the change. Barriers to change, reasons for resistance continued. There is a fear of failure. There is excessive work pressure involved. The cost is too high, or the reward is inadequate for making the change. The present situation seems satisfactory, or there is a lack of respect and trust in the change initiator. Needs analysis, identifying areas of strength and weakness. A needs analysis allows school leaders to identify areas of strength and weakness. Many times those who are the loudest and most persistent are the ones that have their needs met. The squeaky wheel gets the grease theory. Schools often find themselves in reaction, fulfilling mandates rather than being proactive in meeting the unique needs of their specific stakeholders. Needs analysis, identifying areas of strength and weakness. Before conducting a needs analysis, school leaders should ask, what do we want to know? Where and how can we obtain the information, data we need? Who will analyze the information and data? How will we communicate and utilize our findings? Critical questions, formulating questions to poll stakeholders. Regularly polling stakeholders to find out if the school is meeting their needs and reflective of their values is essential. It is not enough to go through the motions of taking surveys. We must ask the right questions to ensure that we obtain the information we need. So be active with this. Critical questions, formulating questions to poll stakeholders. Examples of key questions include, number 1, what does a successful school look like to you? Number 2, What are we doing now that we should continue? Number 3, what should we start doing now that we aren't doing currently? And number 4, are there any things we should stop doing? Number 5, what is the most difficult about your role as a fill in the blank stakeholder? Number 6, can our school support you in reaching your personal goals? Utilizing data for evaluation. Types of data. Okay, there are 4 main types of education data. That's achievement data, demographic data, program data, and perception data. All right, utilizing data for evaluation. Achievement data. Student achievement data is typically the most important type of data to focus on because student achievement is the school's ultimate goal, and this metric directly reflects the progress toward that goal. This data can be collected in a variety of forms. Number 1, annual large-scale assessments. Number 2, periodic assessments. Number 3, ongoing classroom assessments. Utilizing data for evaluation. Demographic data. Demographic data helps us better understand our audience, the students we serve. This can include age, gender, ethnicity, religion, and income level of students and their families, enrollment patterns and how students progress through grades, statistics relating to parent involvement, behavioral issues or social issues affecting students both inside and outside the school, and utilization rates of special programs and services. Utilizing data for evaluation. Program data. Program data looks at the success of specific programs and curricula relative to other programs and curricula serving similar students. This data can be useful to administrators in deciding which programs add the most value and which programs should be improved or replaced to better achieve the school's goals. Utilizing data for evaluation. Perception data. Perception data examines how community stakeholders feel about the school's performance and the quality of education received by its students. This data is often collected through both formal and informal surveys. Some of the stakeholders whose perceptions should be considered include faculty and staff, students and their parents, administrators and school governance officials, other institutions to which students may matriculate, and potential employees in the community. Monitoring and revising. A continuous feedback loop. In order for schools to meet identified goals and in turn achieve their greater vision, there must be monitoring systems in place to regularly collect and evaluate data. This is not a summative process, but rather a continuous feedback loop where data is collected, evaluated, and revisions are made to remain on track to achieving the desired goals. Okay, institutional bias. What's the definition? Institutional bias refers to discrimination or unjust treatment of an individual or group by an organization or entity like a government company, or school system. In many cases, biases may be codified into an entity's policies, laws, objectives, and operating procedures, and may go unnoticed because they have been accepted as the status quo. Institutional bias. Examples in education include discrimination, racism, stereotype, privilege class bias, and gender sex bias. Opportunity and achievement gaps definitions. The U.S. Department of Education describes the achievement gap as the difference in academic performance between different ethnic groups. Opportunity and achievement gaps, possible solutions. There are 4 pillars of opportunity. Bridging equity through Every Student Succeeds Act. This is a 21st century model. Opportunity and achievement gaps, possible solutions. The Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, continues the work began during NCLB to bring equity to education. Outcome data must still be desegregated within each state, local educational agency, LEA, and school. These categories must include major racial and ethnic groups, economically disadvantaged, special education, limited English proficiency, LEP, gender, migrant, foster, homeless, and military. Opportunity and achievement gaps, possible solutions include fair and adequate funding for school, increased compensation for teachers, and corresponding